units which are abstract quantities, and some bundles of dendron are linked to, has a one-to-one mapping with each psychon. So he says that this consciousness is nothing but something that emerges out of information exchange between psychon, which is an abstract quantity, and these bundle of dendrons. So that's roughly his theory. The next model is due to Pribram, who is a neurophysiologist and Baum, quantum physicist. They call their theory as holonomic brain theory. So what they say is that the consciousness is not due to the exchange of neurotransmitters across axon and dendron, but they say when electric impulses reach the end of a neuron, then there is a wave propagation, okay, across neurons. And because a lot of neurons are packed in a very closed space, so there are a lot of waves, like a lot of ripples in a pond. And these waves form interference patterns, and those interference patterns give rise to consciousness. That is their theory.
As per their definition, tree has no consciousness. Because tree have no dendron and axon.
Well, they were trying to study only human consciousness. They were studying only human consciousness, but they don't comment anything concrete.
Say that modern scientific theories of consciousness, as you have defined in the last slide on.
Yes. So last slide was my brain, so it was not related to tree.
No, not that. That before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you define consciousness.
That's what I am saying, or I would say the Vedic philosophy is saying that trees have consciousness, but trees don't have brain. So these theories cannot justify the consciousness in trees.
No, this consciousness is according to the Vedas or according to the modern theories of science or something.
No, this slide is about modern theories.
No. This consciousness that you have written, that modern scientific theories of consciousness.
Okay, when they want to define consciousness here, it is the same consciousness as is in the Vedas. So they don't want to talk about awakeness or awareness.
So from these theories, if they try to explain consciousness, then
there might be analogies in case of others, but this is probably only for.
So practically speaking, I mean, in your lifetime you can work on only a limited amount of objects to experiment with. So that's what they have done, I believe. So the third theory is due to Hameroff, anesthesiologist, and Penrose, famous physicist, who needs no introduction. So their theory is quantum cellular automata at microtubules. So microtubules are nothing but the protein structure inside neurons, and what they say that these microtubules form some kind of automata, and they goes through state changes, and these automata produces some outputs, and that is consciousness. Anyway, I myself do not understand all of them, but I have read some of their interviews in some magazines, and all of them feel the need of a conscious self, like soul, different from our body and brain in the end. So ultimately they say that these theories are not enough, and they believe, again, it's not to be proved or not to be disproved, they believe that consciousness has its origin in something which is different completely from the body and the brain. Okay. For example, this quantum cellular automata in microtubules, Penrose says that in order for the quantum effects that by which they model this thing, they need very low temperature, okay, in order to simulate those in the lab. And brain works in room temperature. Then how does those quantum effects occur there? They have no answer. It's very difficult to control the phenomena, the events in that temperature. Okay, so Penrose says that maybe nature has some intelligent way of computing which we don't have access to. We cannot simulate it in the lab, and all these things. Okay. So just to quote John Maddox, who is a former editor-in-chief of Nature, nobody understands how decisions are made or imagination is set free. What consciousness consists of or how it should be defined is equally puzzling. Despite the marvelous success of neuroscience in the past century, we seem as far from understanding cognitive processes as we were a century ago. to quote another Nobel laureate in physiology and medicine, Jairogi, in my search for the secret of life, I ended up with atoms and electrons which have no life at all. Somewhere along the line, life has run out through my fingers. So in my old age, I am now retracing my steps. Okay. So that leads to my next topic, Vedic theory of consciousness, which talks about soul as this entity which they defined to be a distinct entity, different from body and different from brain, which is the source of consciousness. So soul is kind of the unit of consciousness that is present in every living being, according to Vedic philosophy. If the soul is present in the body, then the body has life, has conscious, has self-identity.
Call it what in Sanskrit?
Which one?
Soul? Atta?
Atta.
Yeah.
Then this theory,
This theory again is
I believe it is, but
it's philosophy.
trying to follow, it's philosophical, yeah.
No, you have written theory, so it's not philosophical theory. Scientific theory must be falsified. According to Popper, of course. You can
Okay. So reincarnation is the journey of soul from one body to another. So according to this theory, when one person or one living being dies, then the soul leaves the body, and during birth, a new soul enters the body. It also talks about law of karma, which is a very intricate detail. I don't want to go into it. It actually decides.
Human consciousness. This one.
No. It's about all consciousness. So according to Vedic philosophy, our soul is present in every living being, be it human, be it animal, be it a tree, be it a bacteria. Okay.
So what is the law of karma for trees or something?
So at one point, I do not know exactly, but as far as I have studied, at one point it says that the law of karma is mainly applicable to human beings because the human beings have defined intelligence and discrimination. So they have a choice to discriminate. But animals and other living beings, they work on instincts, which avoiding this theory altogether or this discussion altogether, all of us agree kind of that okay, animals act mostly on their instincts, whereas humans are more intelligent than them. According to the observed species, of course there may exist advanced species outside, but according to our observed species.
Modern scientific theories are exploring animal intelligence also.
Yeah.
profound intelligence.
Yeah.
Animals are intelligent, that's true.
But not as intelligent as human.
No,
I'm not saying animals are not, even tree is intelligent.
And
I
they
think
have
the
pure
point is, and however you define this law of karma, it only applies to the beings who can choose their actions out of alternatives. That is the basic thing, otherwise there is no point.
Okay, then
So the animals
you are
also
saying
choose
when
their
only
actions.
free will, karma is applicable to them. So
Who
animal-
can choose and discriminate between actions
Do the
when having different options.
I think
That's it.
I think it's a level of granularity. It's a level of granularity. If you have more power of discrimination, then the law of karma will apply more on you. If you have more applicable. If you have less power of discrimination, if you work more on instincts, then it will apply less.
I just have a question. During the Vedic philosophers, do they really consider tree as living things?
Yes.
I didn't get your question.
So in the Vedic age, do the people consider tree as a living
Yeah,
thing?
of course. I can show you pointers. Yes. So much before Jagdish Bose's theory.
That's okay.
So anyway, so this is a philosophical model,
Law
as
of
I am
karma?
saying.
What is law of karma?
Law of karma is, as you sow, so you will reap. Simply stated.
Right.
So whatever you do, all your actions has an equal and opposite reaction. Okay, it's like a analogous to Newton's third law of action, that is on inanimate objects.
No, but
This is
did
on
they give
evidence.
any logic behind it? Like someone else is watching and, why should it happen? Right?
I don't want to get into it right now in this talk because, as I said, this topic is very huge.
Okay.
Probably
Possible.
it needs another topic. That's a very interesting question, but I mean there are different kinds of karma like sukarma, bikarma and akarma, and then there are classifications. You can define different types of karmas and their reactions. That is talked in detail in Vedic literature. But anyway, maybe on another occasion or after the talk we can talk about it. So the next topic that I want to focus is some modern scientific research supporting Vedic soul theory. Okay? Then you can think about falsifiability or not. Okay. So one example is Dr. Wilder Penfield, who is a fellow of Royal Society. So he writes in The Mystery of the Mind this phenomena. So he was experimenting with a patient, and he was monitoring brain activity, okay, through electrodes, probes, etc. And he asked the patient to raise his arm. The patient raised his arm, and then he identified which part of the brain got activated in the diagram. And then in the next phase of the experiment, he artificially put some impulse on that part of the brain to activate it. So that part is associated to the motor neuron that controls the arm movement, and the patient's arm also went up this time. So externally, both the time, when he asked the patient to raise his arm and the patient did it voluntarily, and when he actually injected the impulse, both the times externally the arm went up, but the first time the patient said, I raised my arm, and the second time he said, my arm went up. Okay. So the first one was voluntary, the second was involuntary. But then where from this comes from, that this choice of action, that okay, I want to raise my arm. Okay. How does that choice or that will translates into the neural activity and activation of the brain? That is till today not discovered, and that is the reason why the scientists.
I think this is not a choice of action. This is a choice of language only, because same thing is happening, and you are choosing different language to explain it.
Yeah, but why?
Yeah, why? So this is the problem of language.
So you can do the experiment on yourself, and then you can see that whether you are really feeling something different or it's different languages.
You are explaining you are describing whenever you are describing the action.
Yeah.
There is voluntary and involuntary.
Right.
So that thing should reflect in the language also.
Yes.
So it is reflected in the language only. So where is the problem? So
No. I know you are talking about voluntary nervous system and involuntary nervous system. That is fine, but
so that is
what they are saying that what is the source of that voluntary thing? Involuntary you can understand. You are causing something, but the voluntary thing, how does that voluntary will translates into your action? Apart from this experiment, in our day-to-day life, that part is not known today. And that is the reason all the theories of consciousness.
Sir, one question. We know that the prefrontal cortex of our brain, it controls all the other decision-making things of our brain. Like when I'm thinking that I need to raise my arm, it is my prefrontal cortex which is telling my motor parts to.
Yeah, but who is telling your prefrontal cortex?
That,
for example.
That separates us
That is the stimulus we are getting
From
outside.
from outside.
I mean,
No. Suppose you decide.
I mean, there is a cause behind deciding that.
What is that
So
cause?
are you trying to neglect that cause, or are you trying to?
I'm trying to
put in
define
the
that
cause.
cause.
Cause
So
as
there is-
consciousness.
There is a
Yes.
I mean, now I am raising my hand to raise a question.
Right.
So this raising a question is the cause.
Exactly.
I am hearing you, and by hearing you, I thought that there is a question that need to be raised, and I am
Right.
raising my hand.
Exactly.
So that is the stimulus here.
But some other people hearing the same question are not raising the hand.
Fine.
Right.
Stimulus can come
So
from
that is only
external source,
response.
or it can
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. That what they have done, they have studied both kind of individuals. So who are choosing a particular decision and who are not choosing a particular decision. But by going to the granularity of what we understand today of the brain activities, they are not able to distinguish between the two. That is the problem.
No, I don't see what is the problem. I mean, okay, one can raise an arm, another can raise, and that's his choice. I mean, every people is different.
So the question is where from the choice
maybe-
coming from? That is the question. That is precisely the question.
So it
where
can
does
be
the-
external,
so
or it
as
can
a
be-
react-
it can be
Yes, as a
an
reaction
output of
you
an
can
inner
see.
state, right? So like it can be in response to
Say-
an external stimulus,
say, give
or
me an
it can be
example.
just an
When
inner
you
state.
are talking about those atomic structure, well, my subject is physics. I heard you and I thought that a question needs to be raised because I am a student of physics.
Okay.
She
that
is a
is
student
already
of psychology. She is not reacting. So that depends on many other things. There are other interactions that has happened before.
Yeah.
So why should I need to question that why there is something, why someone is not raising my hand or another one? That depends on that individual's history also. His evolution also. Everything is.
So can I give an example?
Yeah.
So Stephen Fry once demonstrated to a crowd that he took a plastic black thing and on just the other side there was a plastic hand, and he said, first of all you take a pin and just scratch your arm, you'll feel it. After that he just took it and scratched the other plastic hand and everyone felt it. It has been demonstrated throughout. So how do you explain that? What is the cause and what is the effect?
That is the reason people are
You can't-
defining these terms which are different from
I mean,
neural
You can't say
process.
that.
No, I think
there was a
I'll
different
go by
stimulus.
your answer. I mean,
I think we
I'm
can
just trying
discuss
to
it after
really-
the talk.
Okay.
You have valid points, we can discuss it after the talk, definitely. But I think his answer to some extent explains what I am trying to say. This is called phantom limbs. Okay. So according to Dr. Wilfred Bigelow, who is the inventor, one of the inventors of pacemaker, and also one of the designer of hypothermic surgery, heart valve surgery. So according to him, soul research should be undertaken by theology and allied disciplines within every university. Then I would like to point some research by Dr. Ian Stevenson, who is the former head of the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Virginia. And the book entitles 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation. So for around 30 to 40 years he did research. He traveled across the globe from Alaska to Amazon. He collected 3,000 cases that claimed to be cases of reincarnation. Okay, so somewhere somebody claims, okay, I remember my past life, this and this happened. He went there, interviewed those people, investigated. Some of them were 5-year-old kids, 4-year-old kids, some of them were adults. So out of those 3,000, roughly around 3,000 many cases, he eliminated almost everything. So he was actually trying to disprove this theory of reincarnation. He found that, okay, some cases are got up. But he could not deny some strong cases, and those 20 cases he listed in this book. So there was no apparent manipulation in those activities, according to his team's investigation.
হাজরার নাম নেই এখানে
out of 70 billion, just 3,000.
And one slide on. Okay, so why reincarnation and biology intersect, that is another book. These are just some of the literature by doctors and researchers, mainstream science people. That's why I'm just giving as an example here. So this is by also Ian Stevenson, Children Who Remember Previous Lives. And regarding his articles, there was a review in Journal of American Medical Association that says Dr. Stevenson had painstakingly and unemotionally collected a detailed series of cases in which the evidence for reincarnation is difficult to understand on any other grounds. He has placed on record a large amount of data that cannot be ignored. There is another work by Dr. Brian Weiss, who was Chairman Emeritus of Psychiatry at Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami. Many lives, many masters. He also records many events, many real life events, people that he himself encountered. Then there is another book, So I'm not giving examples of fictions or philosophical books. So this section is on hardcore books written by practicing doctors. Okay, this is interesting, by Carol Brauman, Children's Past Life. So she was a psychiatrist, and while counseling different children, she discovered that so many fear that occurs in say baby. So some babies are afraid of say fire, but there is no apparent reason. So normally what is expected that okay, some accident happens, so maybe a baby was about to drown in water, say, and then from that moment onward, so that memory was captured, stored, and then whenever he or she looks at water, feels afraid. But what she encountered that okay, some child maybe never went near water or never had any accidental things, but have developed some fear of water, whereas another child in the same environment does not have developed that. So what is the cause? She was trying to investigate, and then she found out that through proper counseling and treatment, those children, some of them remembered their past life, and some accident happened in their past life, which is the cause of this fear. So she conjectured that maybe it is due to reincarnation. So someone questioned that then why there are so few cases? Why does not everybody remember? So the biologists have also tried to understand that. So first thing is trauma of death. We know that when a person dies, there is terminal restlessness, and we know that even in this lifetime, if there is a hard accident, there is post-traumatic amnesia. We tend to forget things. So the death is probably the most traumatic of all the accidents. Those, especially for those who consciously experience death, okay, not patients in coma. So for them, so that trauma causes forgetfulness. That's one cause. And recently there are some articles that claims there are memory erasing hormones that is secreted in mother's womb. So that causes any possible eraser of memory that might be there. So now,
but soul is absolutely different part of this hormonal thing you are saying.
Of course.
And soul is just transferred.
Of course. Soul is abstract quantity. So the thing is that exactly. So that's a good question. That's a good question. So the thing is that okay. So this memory. So how can you store memory? So these memories or incidents are nothing but information, right? So information is also an abstract thing. We do not know what is information. We see information only when it is represented by something or stored somewhere. So information, in order to be perceived and processed, needs to be stored somewhere in some physical device. So the view by these people is that when with the soul, the information is also carried. And the information is also abstract, the soul is also abstract. When the soul enters the body, the information enters the physical device, which may be the brain. So that information
is a part of soul in this case, in this model.
In this model, yes.
It is not connected to this body or
no.
mind or the
information anyway is an abstract thing.
In this model,
of course,
we just need to think about the abstract information itself. Why do we have to think a separate thing like soul? Because when I am growing up, I am getting informations, and some other informations I am getting genetically. So why can we not be satisfied by those? Why we need another soul?
I didn't get your question at all.
His soul. I mean,
You think why this abstract concept of soul? Just keep information.
No, that's fine. There is no abstract concept of soul as it is. But according to your question, or according to the point, we can stick to it. You can define yourself. You can define yourself to be a collection of all information that you have accumulated from the surroundings.
There is another thing
over
also.
years.
Another thing also. The interaction between this information.
That's also accumulation of information.
Not like
at
that.
the end of the day, it's accumulation of information.
And at the end of the day, it is an abstract quantity. So I call it soul.
Not like that. Because a person, আমি যদি বাংলা বলতে পারি এটা একটু সুবিধা।
পরিষ্কার।
একজন লোক যে এই অ্যাটমসফিয়ারের মধ্যে আছে, ধরো একজন ছেলে এমনি একটা পাড়ায় আছে, সে যেভাবে বিহেভ করছে, সে ধরো একজন সৈনিক, সে যতটা সাহসিকতা দেখাতে পারে, সে যখন যুদ্ধ করতে যাচ্ছে, in that situation, in that collection of peoples, he is behaving very bravely.
ইনফরমেশন কন্টেন্ট সেম, রিঅ্যাকশন ডিফারেন্ট,
কিন্তু same.
রিঅ্যাকশন ডিফারেন্ট।
আলাদা কেন হচ্ছে?
আলাদা লোক না।
আলাদা কেন হচ্ছে? ইন্টারঅ্যাকশনটা সেখানে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ।
ডিসিশনের জন্য ইন্টারঅ্যাকশন ইম্পর্টেন্ট, ইনফরমেশনের জন্য ইন্টারঅ্যাকশন ইম্পর্টেন্ট, শুধু অ্যাকুমুলেশন
মানে একজন
এবং এইটা
আলাদা ইন্ডিভিজুয়ালকে আলাদা করার জন্য ডিসিশন মেকিং ইজ ইম্পর্টেন্ট,
অবশ্যই,
বিকজ এভরিবডিজ সিচুয়েশন ইজ ডিফারেন্ট ফ্রম এভরি আদার বডি,
ডেফিনেটলি
রাইট?
ডেফিনেটলি। কিন্তু এইখানকার চারটে লেভেল অফ কনসিয়াসনেসের যে ডেফিনেশনটা ভেদিক ফিলোসফি থেকে ড্র করা হলো, তাতে ডিসিশন মেকিংটা ইন্টেলিজেন্সের কাজ, আমরা তার উপরের লেয়ারে আছি, কনসিয়াসনেস আর উপরের ডেফিনেশনটা আছে, উপরের লেয়ারটা ইনফরমেশন, তুমি দেখুনি বলবে
মানে শুধু তাহলে শুধু ইনফরমেশনই, তাহলে সেখানেই আমি স্টিক করছি, তাহলে
সেটাও অ্যাবস্ট্রাক্ট,
আচ্ছা ফাইন,
সোলটাও অ্যাবস্ট্রাক্ট, why go in terminology, stick to it, doesn't matter.
A rose is still a rose if you call it by a different name.
কিন্তু অ্যাকচুয়ালি রিইনকার্নেশন এক্সপ্লেইন করা যাবে, মানে আমি একই ধরনের, আমি জাস্ট ডেভিলস অ্যাডভোকেট প্লে করছি এখানে, সর্ট অফ ইনফরমেশন যেটা ক্যারিড ওভার হচ্ছে সেটা রিইনকার্নেশন, যদি কোনো কিছু ক্যারিড ওভার না হয়, অ্যাফ্রেশ স্টার্ট হয়, নো রিইনকার্নেশন।
আমি কনজারভেশন অফ ইনফরমেশন হলে কিন্তু অন্য সমস্যা আছে, কারণ
না, কনজারভেশন অফ ইনফরমেশন তো বলেনি তো,
আচ্ছা তাই তুমি সেটা বলছো না।
একদম ইনফরমেশন কনজারভেশন তুমি বলছো মডেলটা,
না না আবার বলো,
আমি বললাম ইনফরমেশনটাকে, আমি ইনফরমেশন যদি আমি টার্মিনোলজিক্যালি ইকুয়াল টু সোল বলি, যে যাকে গৌতম দা সোল বলছে,
আমি কিন্তু
তুমি তাকে
I think we can continue it later. It cannot be resolved in 1 minute, I guess. But it's a very interesting point.
Develops in a mother's womb, where from does the new soul come, and when does it come? Or the soul of mother divides?
No, the soul does not divide. Soul does not divide. So soul is, so in this model, soul is indivisible. Okay. So it comes from another body that dies. Okay. So according to Mr. Watson, he says the sheer volume of evidence for survival after death is so immense that to ignore it is like standing at the foot of Mount Everest and insisting that you cannot see the mountain. So he is talking about survival after death and reincarnation, and as we all agreed that whether it is soul behind it or a collection of information, that's a matter of terminology.
So what is referring by a volume, sheer volume of evidence?
Oh, by
There are
some
only
of-
30 cases out of.
no, that is one book by one researcher, but
No, that's
I have listed many others.
Example of
Yeah, examples.
books available when
Yes.
to research on this field.
Articles
that's the evidence.
also. That's the evidence.
আমরা ওই লাস্ট লাইনটা কথা
That's right.
ঠিক আছে
এটা from আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
আমার প্রশ্নটা হচ্ছে যে আমি মিস how one can infer these are the assumptions behind this question, sorry, these are the reasons behind this question, that why doesn't everybody remember, how one can infer this is the reasons, these are the reasons.
So for example, in medical science, how one infers. I mean, for every case, does the doctor or the medical scientist, are they confident that okay, this is the cause? I think that's biology or medicine or this medical science that's distinct from mathematics or physics in a sense that we have a lot of empirical things and we have a lot of inferences. Many a time, even the best doctor will tell you probably this is the cause, and I hope this medicine will be helpful to you. So this is some inference. Just
No, we
like that.
don't infer directly, we hypothesize.
Hypothesize, yeah.
And
So there is a
then test.
hypothesis.
And then we come to a logical conclusion based
So
on the
they're trying to logically find out that okay, so maybe information is carried or soul is carried, whatever. Physically, the memory is coming. How that memory is being erased? So that was their question, and they said okay, probably these are the reasons. They hypothesize. That's as simple as that.
Is there any explanation given in the Vedas regarding this question?
Yes.
What is that?
So it is that the nature has designed this process of forgetfulness for almost all of us, so that it's not so that we can live our life normally. So imagine if I have lived thousands and thousands of lives, and if I remember all the incidents that have happened to me, then I cannot act, right? I will be just mad, simply mad. So it's nature's arrangement so that we can live peacefully. And these 20 cases or the few cases that are reported are accidents. Just like, it's nature's arrangement that, okay, we'll be born with our, legs and arms together with 2 eyes. But of course there are accidents.
So, sir, but say somebody dies in his sleep. Where is the trauma of that? What do you mean by trauma?
There's a huge pain associated.
No. So these two are 2 possible causes. There may be other cause. Okay. For them.
And what are the sources of these causes? From where do you